Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my 2025 challenge where I'm trying to photograph 250 species of birds in Massachusetts this year. Today is April 27th. It's a cool Sunday morning. It rained all day yesterday, so everything is very wet. I'm at a location called the Middlesex Fells, which is a large forested area in the suburbs north of Boston, actually pretty close to where I live. And I'm visiting a few trails that are good for early spring migrants and other things. The trail I'm going on right now tends to get very wet after it's rained, so I'm wearing a pair of waterproof muck boots today to be able to slosh through the water. And we'll see what we can find. I also have a lot of birds that I photographed over the past 10 days or so to show, so we'll work those in as well as we go down this nice trail here. Okay, so in terms of birds that I've already seen, I'd like to start with one that I made a special trip to see. I went out to Boxford, Massachusetts, about an hour from my house, to look for a Louisiana water thrush. This is a warbler species. It's a little different than most of the warblers in Massachusetts. It's very scarce if you try to find it in migration moving through. It's really hit or miss and hard to find. But there are a few locations where they nest and breed. So the thing to do for this species is actually just to go chase it once it's on its territory. And so I did that. Went to this location in Boxford, Massachusetts, and was able to see this nice Louisiana water thrush, actually a pair of them. I thought there was one at first, and then as I was leaving, I noticed the second one there. So they're just kind of getting started with their nesting there. Did end up getting this nice footage of this one bobbing its tail up and down, doing its little dance there. So really cool bird to see. I don't get to see them very often because I don't bother to chase them every year, but this year for the list, definitely one I wanted to get on there because if you know where to look for them, it's not that hard to find them. Another bird that I chased recently is glossy ibis. There was a large flock of them reported out in the middle of Essex County, and I went and chased those. So there was also one white-faced ibis that was reported to be with the flock. So it was a little bit of a mixed result. I did see the glossy ibis flock, got some reasonably good footage of those. It was actually nice to see them flying around and feeding in a group. I love getting shots of birds in flocks in flight. I always think that that's a really cool thing to see. So I did get this nice footage of them flying around. I spent a lot of time picking through looking for the white-faced ibis, which is very similar, just has more white and pink on the face. But I was not successful, and some other people were there with scopes looking as well. I may go back and try to find it again. I'll see if I have the time. So this path that I'm on right now in the Middlesex Fells has been a good one for me already this year. This is the path where I got the pileated woodpecker and the winter wren very early in the year in one of my first videos. If you've been watching all these videos, you may remember that I got good footage of both of those birds. Then about a week ago, maybe even less than a week, I came here to see a red-shouldered hawk, actually a pair that is nesting in this area. And I was successful for that as well, right along the path, just about where I'm standing right now. When I saw it originally, it was deep in the bush and it was calling, so I knew that's what it was, but you could hardly see it. And I was hoping that it would fly out to an open perch, and it did. It flew around a little bit, landed in the tree, and gave me another nice perch. And it was funny, I was getting greedy thinking, okay, this is great, but it's got a branch in the way. I really wish it would go to a very open perch. And then it actually did. It was just kept moving around a lot and ended up flying to this completely open perch that you can see here. So that was fantastic. Really nice looking hawk, and not real common in Massachusetts. It's regular, but they can be a little tricky to find. Certainly much less common than the red-tailed hawk, which is our main Buteo species here in Massachusetts. Okay, I reached the low-lying area of the trail where there's water on both sides, and I just had a blue-gray gnatcatcher, which is a new one for the year. Very active little bird. I heard it first and kind of just followed it around, shooting it with my camera as much as I could. I probably took a couple hundred shots of it, of which maybe a few are going to be decent, but I'll put those up. Very difficult bird to photograph, but a new one for the list, and it's nice to kind of find one for the list while I'm out walking instead of just showing everything that I've seen previously. So let's add blue-gray gnatcatcher now. Okay, so I've been here for about half an hour or 45 minutes, and I've seen or heard about 25 species of birds, including a pileated woodpecker calling, which was nice to hear. So far, the only new one for the year is the blue-gray gnatcatcher that I already showed. What I'm not seeing or hearing so far is warblers, which of course I'm anxious to get going on the arriving spring warblers, but it's been pretty quiet so far for those. But I'm going to keep looking, try a few other areas. In the meantime, let's go through some more of the new birds that I have in my backlog. So here's a nice one, a blue-winged teal that I saw at Horn Pond. I would say blue-winged teal is one of the trickier regular ducks to find. They're not as common as, say, green-winged teal, and they tend to be kind of shy. So it was great to get this photo op where I was able to kind of sneak up on them a little bit behind some cover and get some good shots of them just sort of peacefully swimming around in this back pool at Horn Pond. So here are some green-winged teals in that same nice back pool there, taking a little time to sun and preen. And a couple days later, a double-crested cormorant was perched in the same pool. So they're a common bird and can be seen just about anywhere around where there's water and fish these days. But this was a nice photo op of one just sort of perched in the sun. Okay, so I came back to this very wet area here, and I did hear one of my target species, which is Virginia rail. I called briefly as I was walking through here, and I've been waiting around hoping it would come out so that I could get a photo or some video, but no luck. So I think I'm going to have to call it if it wants to stay hidden in the reeds and isn't being very active. There's really nothing I can do about it. That's one of the tough things about having this challenge be photographing the birds and not just, seeing or hearing them. If I was just trying to get a list of 250 for the year, I'd say Virginia rail is on the list and we're done and we move on, but I have to keep looking. So what I'd like to do now is tell you about another brief trip that I made. So after I saw the Louisiana water thrush, I drove to the shore to look for American oyster catchers, which had been reported. So I went to this location in Winthrop along the shore, a place called the Five Sisters, which are these big breakwaters that are just off the shore. Unfortunately, I showed up at high tide, which was not the right time to show up because all the rocks that they like to feed on tend to be covered up. And so I did locate some oyster catchers, but they were out on these breakwaters. They were out on the Sisters, which meant that I was filming them from pretty far away. So I did end up getting a decent countable shot of an American oyster catcher here. And so that's absolutely going on the list. I will probably go back and try to get some better footage at some point because I really love these guys, and they're not actually that shy. If they're feeding around on the rocks and the beach, you can generally get some good photos of them. So while I was there, I actually saw another distant bird flying way offshore, and that was a northern gannet. I saw it and I thought, okay, well, that's going to be, that'll be countable on my personal list. There's no way I'm going to get a photograph of that. But I thought, okay, let's put the camera to the test. And so I just kept taking shots of it, firing off shots with a high shutter speed in the distance, amazingly far away. And when I got home and blew them up, it was pretty amazing that, you can actually see that it's a northern gannet. So these are terrible photos, obviously, but you can certainly see what the bird is, which is my criteria here. What I actually did is I took a series of shots and I put a sort of collage of them together going across the screen, as you can see here. And that I actually think works pretty well. That's better than any of the individual photos because you can kind of get the feeling of how it's flying along there. So northern gannet, put it on the list. Obviously not a good close-up sharp shot by any means, but I'm happy to have that on the list. Okay, well, it's just started raining a little bit. Pretty light. I hope it doesn't get any heavier because that's not going to make things easy when I'm filming and recording myself. It's been a bit of a theme for me over the last month with my birding, is lots and lots of rain, but that's okay. We'll keep going. And what I'd like to do now is put on some more birds from the backlog over the last week or so. So going back to Horn Pond, I've been birding in the area on the other side of the entrance road where we had those rare western warblers last year. Everybody's been paying more attention to that area since those rarities showed up, and did have a nice early black and white warbler there the other day. These are really snazzy looking guys, and I was able to get one perched up on a nice perch here and get a nice little series. So I'm happy with this series of photos. These guys always look so sharp early in the spring. And then in this same wooded area, just after seeing the black and white warbler, there was a turkey vulture perched in there, which is a little unusual. Obviously, you usually see those flying overhead, circling, or maybe perched up high on observation tower or a power line or something. But this one was perched down low, and it's not the first time I've seen one perched in this little woods here, and I'm not really sure why it's doing that. But it was just having a restful afternoon, and it was a nice low angle to get some good video of it. And another warbler that has showed up in good numbers is palm warbler. That's always one of our earliest arriving warblers here, and I've seen quite a few of those in a few different locations. So I'll just put up a series of photographs. I think I have a few from Horn Pond, a few from Plum Island, and a few from a little place where I go for a walk at lunchtime at work up in Wilmington, Massachusetts. So palm warblers kind of all over the place. Good to see them early in the spring. And then one more from Horn Pond is hermit thrush. This is an early arriving spring migrant. We also had one over winter, but I was really struggling to get any photos of the overwintering one. I would just sort of catch it briefly. So I think these are spring arrivals that I have here, just a short video and a couple of photos. Okay, well, we just had a little bit of a heavier rain shower, but that's now let up, fortunately. I've come up to this open area here where I've had good luck finding warblers in the past, but today, no warblers at all so far. So unfortunate on April 27th not to be seeing any warblers here, but I am hearing a lot of chipping sparrows around. And I'm finding it difficult to photograph them here because they're up against kind of this white sky, but I do have some footage of chipping sparrow that I got a few days ago from Horn Pond, so let's go ahead and show that. Another early arriving and very common warbler is yellow-rumped warbler, probably our most common warbler in terms of just sheer numbers that comes through in migration. And I did get a couple of photographs of one at Horn Pond that aren't too bad, so we'll get that on the list and start slowly building up our warbler total. I think that makes 6 warblers total so far, and certainly need to get at least 25 this year. Probably a little bit more by the end of the year. So keep plugging away at those. Another bird that I saw recently that is not a new one for the list is this brown thrasher. This is the same one that has been at Horn Pond, my home patch, ever since last October. It overwintered and is still being seen fairly regularly. And at this point, it had come in and was feeding on some seeds that had been spilled on the ground. Got some nice close-up looks at this really cool looking brown thrasher. Another bird I photographed recently at Horn Pond is this yellow-bellied sapsucker. This one was really showing nicely against this white birch tree. I'm really happy with these photos that I got of it, especially this one here where it's peeking out from the side of the white birch trunk. I think that looks really neat. It's not a new one for the list. I did see that at Mount Auburn Cemetery a few months ago. You may remember that. I had forgotten to put it on my channel life list, however, so I'm going to take the opportunity to add it to my channel life list now. Another recent arrival at Horn Pond is great-crested flycatcher. And you always know when they show up because they have this very loud weep sound that you start hearing echoing through the woods. And so I knew right away when I heard that one and was able to track it down and get some video. It's kind of funny, I was in Panama a few weeks ago, as you may have seen from some of the videos that I've been putting out, and I was walking through the rainforest, hearing all these exotic tropical birds that I didn't recognize, and all of a sudden I heard weep from a great-crested flycatcher. So it was overwintering down there and it was calling, and it was just kind of funny to hear that familiar sound amidst all the other tropical birds that I didn't recognize. So that was kind of fun. Okay, I've been here for about 2 hours now, and I'm going to wrap up this visit now. Haven't actually seen all that much. It was nice to see the blue-gray gnatcatcher. Also good to hear the Virginia rail and know that it's around in that wet area there. I may be able to come back and find that later. But a little disappointed not to see any more warblers today. But I hope you've enjoyed seeing all of the new additions to the list. And I will be back next week, I think, with another video from Massachusetts. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.